If you've been driving at night and felt blinded by oncoming headlights, you're not imagining things, you are not alone. Car headlights on Canadian roads have become noticeably brighter in recent years, and it's not just a matter of someone forgetting to dip their high beams. With more on this, let's go to Daniel Stern. He's chief editor of Driving Vision News, the technical journal for vehicle lighting. Daniel, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
So if we're not imagining things, what precisely is happening with headlights on our roads?
Well, in a word, they're getting brighter, but let's dig into that a little. More and more vehicles are coming with LED headlamps. And I mean, we're all familiar with LEDs. We see them everywhere in our life. We've replaced our dining room light bulbs with LEDs. We know what LEDs are, but in headlights, as LEDs produce more and more and more light and the optics get more and more efficient, the headlamps get smaller and smaller and smaller. And stylists really like that. But a smaller light source for any given intensity looks way brighter and more glaring than a larger light source with that same intensity. So we used to have these great big headlamps with lower intensity, and they weren't all that glaring. Now we have these tiny little headlights with lots of intensity. They're very glaring. The other thing that's happening is that headlamps are getting bluer and bluer and bluer. And that really just shoves glare off the scale. It's been shown that for any given intensity, bluer light produces 50 or 60% more glare than that same intensity with less blue in it. And you don't get to see any better, you just get more glare. But here again, the stylists love the bluer and bluer and bluer trend.
So you mentioned the stylists here. What about the consumer? Has the consumer, even if it's going to make it more difficult for the other drivers, has the consumer been demanding this?
Well, it's sort of a tough nut to crack, because on the one hand, nobody goes into a car dealer and says, don't sell me a car with high glare headlights. I only want a car with low glare headlights. Nobody does that.
Yeah.
If they think about the headlights at all when they're buying a car, it's how well can I see? And most of us don't even do that. We don't do a nighttime test drive. We get what we're given. And so that sort of gives the stylists and marketers free leash to, well, they talk about, close to natural daylight and beautiful slim lights, and that's what they give us, and that's sort of what drives it. But yeah, you're absolutely right. This is a really harsh reality on the roads, that headlights are getting more and more intense to look at.
Now, do we know if it's more dangerous? And if so, regulators, they love to get involved in everything. So I wonder what the regulators are doing here.
Well, here's the thing. Headlight beams, and we're talking about low beams, because as you mentioned, this glare isn't really a matter of people forgetting to dip from high beam. It's the low beams. Headlight beams are defined by what are called test points. If you imagine a wall with a vertical line and a horizontal line, they cross in the middle, and the beam is defined by saying, okay, at a point so many degrees to the right and so many degrees up, you have to have this amount of light, and so many degrees left and so many degrees down, you have to have that amount of light. And there are minimum and maximum points, and the minimum points to assure you have enough light to see your way safely forward, and the maximum points to try to control glare. In the past, with all past light sources, we couldn't move tiny amounts of light. We could only move sort of large amounts of light. So there was this glare control point in the area where oncoming eyes are, and the only way to meet that was to move a large amount of light away from it. So you had one tiny point defining a larger, low-intensity glare-controlled zone. Now, with advanced LEDs and advanced optics, we have very granular control of what we can do with the light. We can meet that glare test point, and only that test point. And immediately surrounding this tiny little low intensity area, there's very high intensity. So as a car drives along the road, there are bumps and potholes and dips and rises and curves. So the headlights are moving around, and the fact that the glare controlled zone is now very tiny instead of very large means that other drivers' eyes are just more likely to intersect a high intensity part of the beam. By the way, beams have also been growing wider, which is great if you're behind the wheel. You get a nice wide view at night, but it also means people at a larger range of angles are going to get zapped by glare. Now you ask, what are the regulators doing? Well, here's the thing. It's almost impossible to prove that glare causes crashes. I mean, it feels intuitively like it makes sense, right? You feel like you can't see. But one unfortunate thing about Canada's auto safety regulations is that long ago we handcuffed ourselves to the American regulations.
Mm-hmm.
And our regulations are almost identical to the U.S. regulations. And that worked for a long time because we had a highly integrated auto industry. That seems to be breaking down at the moment as the U.S. is shoving away former friends and allies. But for a long time, that's how it was. And the auto industry very much wanted minimal difference between the cars that they sell in the United States and the ones they sell in Canada.
What's interesting, Daniel, with Daniel Stern, chief editor of Driving Vision News, we're talking about car headlights. It seems like the one difference between Canadian and U.S. cars had been like the lights, the daytime running lights. That's something that was unique to Canada. So you think like, okay, on that one thing, we could do things differently.
Yeah, that's right. And there's a whole interesting story about that. I don't know that you want me to go down that rabbit hole,
Yeah.
But we were originally going to get low glare daytime running lights, very much like the European ones. And the automakers squawked about that and said, no, we're not going to spend to put a new lighting device on the car. And so we got high glare, less effective DRLs. And there again, that was the influence of the sort of the American-based industry kind of shoving us around.
But can I ask you, because it seems like, okay, technology is causing the problem. Can't technology also solve it? Like my car has these adaptive headlights, like they're LED headlights. They're dot matrix, and they actually can pixel by pixel turn on and off so they don't blind other drivers. Like, can't we just do that?
That's actually a thing, and there are different kinds of adaptive headlamps. The very newest one is called adaptive driving beam, and it is a camera-driven system which effectively you're driving around on high beam all the time, and the camera detects and keeps track of other road users and selectively shadows them out of the beam. So you get high beam seeing and they see low beam glare, and everybody's happy. Here's the problem. Number one, very few cars in Canada have this. Number two, it only works sort of at moderate speeds with moderate traffic density. So in the high density situations, city traffic, for example, where it's an endless stream of oncoming high glare cars, that's not going to help you because the system just defaults to a low beam. And I mean, it certainly won't do anything for mirror glare. We've probably all experienced if you're in a sedan or, and you got an SUV behind you, you're getting zapped by all three of your mirrors. Yes. But to answer your bigger question, yes, absolutely, there is technology that can help. Here's the thing. Headlight aim is the number one factor, not only in how well you can see at night, but how much glare you're throwing around. Human beings are terrible at aiming headlamps, even with good tools, and we don't even try in Canada. It's in most parts of Canada, it's almost impossible, even if you're paying good money, to find a shop that is equipped, willing, and able to properly aim your headlights. Some of them will do a slack job of it. They'll point it at a wall and kind of twiddle with the screws, but it's supposed to be a much more precise operation than that, and it's really difficult to get it done. So why not take the human being with the screwdriver out of the equation? There is technology that can allow cars to attain the correct aim and keep it correct no matter what happens. You go over a bump in the road, you throw a couple of 2.4s in the trunk, doesn't matter, the headlights will always be properly aimed. Nobody puts it on their cars because no government requires it.
Daniel, Daniel, to wrap it up here, because I got to wrap up, but it does sound, to put a bow on it, things will, for those who feel they're getting blinded too often while they're driving, things will get worse before they get better. Is that fair to say?
I'm afraid so.
That's just how it is. Daniel, great chatting with you. You're really knowledgeable on the subject. I appreciate your time.
Glad to help out.
It's Daniel Stern. He's chief editor of Driving Vision News, the technical journal for vehicle lighting.
I'm Dylan Playfair.
And I'm Tyler Smith.
We're putting loneliness in the penalty box by talking to some of our favorite athletes about the importance of friendship.
This is Bromance.
Bromance is brought to you by Charm Diamond Centers, proudly Canadian-owned and operated. Charm has been part of your love stories and bromances for over 50 years.
And you can find Bromance on the iHeartRadio network or wherever you get your podcasts.